Hey everybody, welcome to Beyond the Paranormal Podcast. I'm John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, with a very, very long-time childhood friend. I've known you for years, man. I'm sitting here with James Scott, author of John Swift Silvermine, and we're going to be talking to him about all this stuff that he's, being part of and doing and things like that, especially growing up in Eastern Kentucky, because there's a lot of stuff here that nobody really knows about. But my good friend here, he's been around for a very long time, and we're going to talk about this. So, welcome to the podcast. I'm finally glad to get you on here. I never knew all the stuff that you've been into, man, like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, growing up in Eastern Kentucky, did you have any early childhood experiences with paranormal or UFO or anything like that, possibly? Did you see anything that sparked your interest?
Yes, and that's when I was around 17.
Okay.
And I got my first car that I was driving, and I guess it's me and Marvin Dangus. You remember him?
I don't know Marvin Dingus.
Don't know Marvin.
No.
Yeah, he lives on up the road up here at Hyatt. And we'd been out that night. As a matter of fact, I think it was Halloween night. I believe it was. And it was probably around, we stayed out till about 11:30 that night, 11:40, somewhere through there. I know it's getting almost midnight. And I was going to take him back home, drop him off. That's before they put that road in up here, it's high curve then.
Oh, okay.
Back in the 60s. And so we went, I was on my way back way, around the high curve, down the hill, down the other straight stretch through there, where the school is there on the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And there used to be a store across the road, everything was closed. But there was a night light there on the side of the road on a pole from right below the school there. And I could see it. So closer we got, there was somebody that looked like hitchhiking, standing beside the road. And the closer we got, Marvin said, there's somebody hitchhiking. I said, yeah, I see it. And we got right up there close to it. I was going maybe 45, 50. And that, whatever it was, it stepped out in front of me, and I went right through it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And this was down here at Martin High School, right, at that time when it's called Martin High School?
It was up there at Garth.
Oh, Garth, okay.
A vocational school.
Okay.
I went right through it, buddy, and I don't know where it went or nothing. But it had a long black trench coat like of a thing on.
Oh, man.
I couldn't see its face, but it had one of them big top hats, black, on top, like Abraham Lincoln or something more.
Yeah.
Had one of them, I could see that. And buddy, and Marvin was scared, me and him both. Marvin said, James, just take me home. I said, well, I'm going to take you home. I'm going back home, too. When I dropped Marvin off, I come on back to the house, and I parked at the bottom of the road and had to walk up on the hill where, see, Mom and Dad was up there then. And I kept hearing something over my head. That late at night, I don't know what it could have been at first. I heard something. Thought it might have been a bird or something flying around.
Yeah.
And I just kept right on going. It was dark. I couldn't see. The closer I got up to the house, see, Mom had a kind of a little light there on the outside door. And I hollered for her to open the door and wanted to see what that was. She opened that door. John, I'm telling you, babe, they was a bat. Its wings had to have been that broad. It was right in my face. A bat now I'm talking about.
Good Lord.
I could see its teeth and everything, buddy, that long. And Mom hollered at me, get in here. She slammed that door shut, buddy. Yeah, sure did. I don't know where that thing come from, whether it was connected to that up there on the road or what.
So with that experience that you had, did anybody else ever mention anything like that? You growing up, did anybody else have that experience also, or no?
Yeah. Now, my sister lives at MacDowell. Now, her friends seen the same thing I did, so I know there had to be something to it.
Oh, wow.
It was in the same place, and she drove through it, her and her mom both, because they was asking me about that, My sister knew about what happened, And she was telling them that I had the experience too. But that was the second time. But there could have been other people seen that too, I don't know about.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. That's got me interested. Like what is that?
I have no idea
What could that have been?
What that was connected to or what it was, where it came from. I have no idea.
Any other things growing up like that you had experiences with that really, took you for a loop?
After me and my wife got married, and that was in 72, right after Dad passed away. We moved up there on the hill to the old house. Wasn't nobody up there. Mom said we could live up there. And we always had to walk, all the way up there and back off. We got off. So we was up there. We'd been up there a good while, maybe a month or two. And it was probably getting real late too at night. It always happens.
Late at night.
Real late, around midnight or so.
Yep.
We was sitting there on the bed playing cards, rummy. I kept hearing a noise down the hill outside. It was raining then too. I told Mary, I said, somebody sound like there's a holler for me or something, I heard it. But I said, it can't be my grandmother because she goes to bed early. She don't get up. I figured it might have been a phone call or something. But I couldn't see down through her. It was raining then. But a few minutes later, then I heard a noise like something dragging something on the ground, like a chain rattling and that. I had some steps that went down off to the ground there, about 4 steps. I could hear whatever it was coming up steps, and I thought it might have been my brother-in-law trying to prank me or something. And I hollered his name. I said, Clyde, is that you? Clyde Boyd. There ain't no answer. I said, if you're going to answer me, you better be answering me. But there was a piece of the window broke out right on the corner of it, always was. I just ran over and got that 38 in mine. I said, you better answer me, because I had the light on in they could see me, but I sure couldn't see them. And I asked it about 3 times. I said, I'm going to shoot through the door. And they didn't answer. So I popped that barrel up there and I fired every shot I had. It turned and walked off the steps. And I'm telling you the truth, it walked right off that step. And it wasn't about 3 or 4 seconds, it hit my back door. It was rattling that doorknob, buddy. I told Mary, I said, you better get on the bed. I don't know what it is. So I emptied my bullets, but I had a shotgun. I always kept it loaded. It was a double-aught bucket or pump. And I grabbed it and went into the kitchen, then laid down under the table. It opened that door about that far, and I fired out through it. And whatever it was come to me. A vision come into my mind what it was. It says, you can't kill me. It said, I'm the devil.
Oh.
Sure did. Now that scared me. And we moved off that hill, me and her did. We didn't stay up there. I don't know what these things is messing around. But, when I was growing up, my dad always said this place had a curse on it up through here or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he say why? For the reason why?
Well, see, the kids of my older sisters and them older than me, when they went to school, now they used to come up, kind of early in the morning about daylight. And they said they seen Indians down there going up the hill floating in the air. And they come back to the house a running, screaming and stuff when they was smaller.
Yeah. My dad told me, you've known my dad for years.
Yeah.
Dad told me at one point, he was told that this area here specifically, like you're saying, a witch had put a curse on it.
Now this did have a curse on it, but I think Aunt Mandy Dangus that lived out here, she's the one that put that on it. Because they took this land from her.
Oh, wow.
The government did. She didn't want to sell it. And
I don't blame her.
Dad said she was in court down there, and they was having a hearing about it. And she had settled for what they offered her. She didn't want to sell at all. And she she swore, she said, I'll put a curse on that. She sure did. She said, nobody will see no peace there.
And I'll say this too, folks. The story that he just told you about the thing coming on the porch, last time he told me, that's word for word what he said before. Nothing's being exaggerated or whatever whatsoever. That's exactly what he told me previously. And so, yeah, that's got to be some. And I remember when I was a kid, some of the stories that you told Dad, and when we drive by there, you kind of get like an eerie feeling. It's like a dark, creepy looking place back in there, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, even I don't like to mention names. I don't know if they'll watch this or not, but Clyde Stevens used to run that store up the road there. He talked about seeing things around through here too. When he go up through there early in the morning, he drove a school bus there for years. But he told my dad, he said, man, he said, there's some weird things goes on up through here. He said, I've lived here about all my life. He said he's seen things back on the cemetery, like floating around over the cemetery like an angel or something.
Oh, yeah. I don't doubt that one bit.
Clyde told Dad. But now the other people, you know, is like old Bill Smith and them used to live up there seeing things too where they live, up just above here, you know, up in there. Because I know them people pretty good. I used to go up there all the time around them.
So you had told me some things about UFOs because I had told you that I also seen a UFO here in Martin. You've had two very crazy stories about UFOs. So let's talk about that a little bit. Then we'll get into the mine deal. So go ahead and explain that to him or tell the story about it, please.
Well, the one like that light up here, you know, I'm not sure what that was, but it was a glowing, and it changed different colors. And I kept filming it there for a bit, and cars was going through. You could see the cars, and I actually see it too, just across the creek. And it done that for a little while, and all of a sudden, I don't know if it knew I was filming it or not. I was standing out on, you know, kind of at the door there. I didn't want to get my phone wet, but it come up like that, and I didn't get this part because I was watching it, and I had my phone turned a little bit, didn't capture it, but it raised up by then. It shot off like a bullet up the creek. It was gone. I mean, wow. I don't know what could do that.
Didn't make no noise or anything at all?
No, it was dead quiet.
And it was raining that night too.
Yeah, it was. It was coming down pretty good. You know, it wasn't nobody over there with no flashlight either. Not down right on pretty close to the water.
And then this is in Martin, right above the Hall Funeral Home there, right before you get the high curve on the left-hand side.
Church, you know, it's right over from it there.
Yeah,
That's where it was.
See, when you told me that first time, it just floored me because...
But now my daughter seen a flying saucer actually when we lived in Spurlock. She's my youngest daughter. Well, me and John Whitaker, we was gone that night, but I think Murray and Bo, he was there, but he's watching TV. Murray was on computer. But Ashley had two of her friends over there with her, and they was like 12, 13-year-old. And plus Ashley's two kids was there. They was small. But me and John went to Prestonburg. We had a meeting down there with this lady from Wisconsin talking about the silver mine. They come down, and we was down there at that motel. We was there probably a good 2 hours. But when we got back, now them girls, they were in an uproar. They was a hollering going on. Told John and Ashley and them, said, we see the flying saucer. I said, when? They said, a little while ago. She says that this thing come across the top of the house. Now, I'm talking treetop level. She said it was round, circular, and had lights going off and around different colors, you know, that she described them. And they got right underneath that thing. And she said the vibration from it, you know, was jarring their whole body. So she said, I asked her if it was a helicopter. She said, there wasn't no helicopter. She said, this one floated right above the trees there. And the trees was vibrating from it. It wasn't a helicopter, though. And she said, here come about, I think she said about 4 of them jets that's looking for them. She said they come across through her just to get anybody.
How long ago was this?
That was in, she was 12, 13, somewhere through there. So she's now close to 30. She said after them jets went over, they was moving on. There's about 4 of them. And she said this thing raised up off them trees and floated right on up through, went up Colony Fork up there. Went right up through Colony. It was hiding from them jets. It was flying saucer.
So do you think that this place is riddled with paranormal and UFOs?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff, man.
There's a lot of things went on around here, buddy.
I'll tell you this, that I didn't tell you this before, and I don't even think I told Robert this, who's behind the camera filming this right now. I was coming back from Jenny Wiley one night, and me and my dad had been fishing. It was about like, I don't know, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're getting ready to get up to, I don't know how to explain this to people. There's a gas station there now, but before there was a house set there on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side as you're coming up from the lake, from Jenny Wiley.
The lake there.
No, we're coming back from the lake.
Yeah.
So this was like a brick house on the right-hand side. It had stone walls out front, and there was a lady. All she had on was just a white nightgown, no shoes, no nothing, long black hair. And I know, folks, that's the typical horror story, but that's exactly what I saw when we passed her. My dad slowed down, he backed up, saw her standing there, and she was still walking, and I couldn't get out, hey, are you okay? It stopped me. But as soon as Dad took off, just started to give a little gas, she just faded, gone. So I don't know, man. To me, I saw an apparition.
Yeah, strange.
I've seen some strange stuff and heard some strange stuff my growing up. But we're gonna get on to the John Swift Silver Mine. How long have you been searching for that mine around here?
Well, right now, I guess it's been around 45 years I put in on that.
45 years,
Yeah,
wow.
I've traveled every hill around here. Me and my brother-in-law, Lucky, he lived in Garrett. We travel across top of these hills, and sometimes I take camera with me to get pictures of the rocks. We find carvings on them and this and that. I got a lot of them in that book that we took back then. Yeah, we started out back in the early 80s, looking late 70s, yeah. Even before I moved over yonder. And my brother, he was into it before I was, and that's what got me interested in it. But he always believed it was down the Red River Gorge. Back then, that's where everybody thought it was. But I had more research I done and more stuff I found up here. It was up here, right in our own backyard.
Now, the research that you did, where did you find out that gave you proof that led you believe that, hey, no, it's up here?
Well, I told him at the rocks and things we found. I found the one they called the Buffalo Rock, Swift mentioned, we found it. It had carvings right on it that proved that. And them mines that he mines was up there too. But you see, that mining company come in there and stripped the whole top of the mountain. They took whatever's in there out. And I'm assuming they took a big treasure out there with it. But they did. They got everything. It was up Spurlock up in there, top them hills. They got the silver out there.
So Wolfe County and the area around Natural Bridge have been rumored to be likely spots for the lost mine. Do you believe that?
It's always been rumored that, yeah.
Okay.
But I've been down in there, but I never could find nothing down in there. But a lot of people still goes down in there because they don't find nothing.
Let's just add to that thrill, that rush.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've written several articles and books on that down there. People has. But now, I've got books that says it's up in here too. And they know that I'm looking for it. I can't think of his first name. He wrote several books. He says it's up in here too. He's done research. He actually done more research than I have. I went to every library everywhere around here.
Mm-hmm.
In Paintsville, I went to Pikeville and everywhere. But he went to Virginia, over there where Swift was supposed to stay at, and he got document proof. And he's even got records of Swift buying him and his buddies, Mundy and Montgomery, all of them. He had 17 men with him. And he had about 6 was his top men. And they all bought property right here on Beaver Creek.
Wow.
Thousands of acres, up and down both sides. Even John Swift owned it. And Prather, he done the research. He got that. And he says his mines has to be from Prestonsburg all the way to towards Wheelwright on Beaver Creek. I called him and told him, I said, I know where they're at. I said, I found them up here. He said, well, I'm sure glad somebody found them, because he said that's where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But see, the landowners, they got after me, and they didn't want me digging on their land, you know.
Right, right.
So I couldn't open them mines up. We opened one of them up over in the Cushaw, back on top of there. That's for the mining company got in there, and we opened one of them up. And by the air come up out of there and hit you right in the face, man. We had it open, because we dug about 2 hours on that.
How far did you get down?
We dug probably about 3.5 feet or 4 to at a rock face, you know, and right down in there. Cause we seen a sink place there where the guys that mined it, you know. But now out front, there was big piles of dirt and rock. It even had trees growing out of that, big trees. And me and Lucky decided that's where they got the mines at, and they piled all that stuff up out here when they went in. But it wasn't a few minutes. Now, Bo was with us, and he'll verify what I'm saying. That boy of mine, Lucky's got 2 boys that was back there. They're still around. Lucky, of course, he passed away. But we was sitting there, and it was about almost 11:30 or 12 at night again. And we was sitting there and had us a little fire built and taking a snack, you know. Well, we'd already opened that up. But it was a few minutes later, man, there was something white come up out of that hole. I'm telling you. And it shot right out into the head of that holler. And there was a big oak there. And it lit that whole tree up, but it just glittered all the way around it. And them boys got throwing big rocks at it and everything. Lucky said, man, he don't use throwing rocks at that. We don't know what it is.
Yeah. So would you say, in your own personal opinion, we all hear about skinwalkers and things like that, and these cryptids protecting places like that. Do you think that was a skinwalker that you saw?
Well, what I'm thinking is, I don't know whether people believe me or not, but I've done a lot of research. I think them was King Solomon's silver mines, even before Swift come in here. Because there was nobody in here but the Indians, and they had no use for silver. I read an article where the Spanish was in here mining and all that, you know, Spanish, and they try to claim they had mines too, but now these mines was in here long before that. And I read up on King Solomon's mines, and they do fit with this up here, that the knobs and the way the hills is laid out. He mentions the twin knobs, and the twin knobs is where Swift mined his mines at. I found them.
Oh, wow.
One of them's where that fire turret was sitting on top of. That was one of the knobs, and the other was just around the hill from there. And there's a mine entry out there too. He talks about twin knobs. He talks about the valleys when he come in here. I mean, when they come in here, whoever he had working for him. And I think he made a place up here to put that treasure. I believe that's why the mining company were in there, to get that out. And the only ones that can move that, what I read on, is the Templars, Knight Templars. They can go in there and move that out of there. And if that ark was in there, that they had, they could remove that and take it out of there.
What's that experience like knowing that you found proof that John Swift silver mine did exist here in eastern Kentucky?
Well, the carvings and stuff I found, and the journal reads the way it reads. The creeks, he talks about coming up and down Big Sandy River. That's the Great Sandy Creek, you know, Big Sandy. He talks about Sandy Creeks, which is Beaver Creek, because it was called that at one time, you know, in the late 1700s. It was called Salt Rock Pork Sandy back in those days, but Swift called it Sandy Creek, and he called the Big Sandy the Great Sandy, because it was bigger. And he always talked about going to his mines up Sandy Creek, you know, at the Forks of Sandy. He had two groups of mines, and I think one of them laid on that side of where the fire tower was, and the other one was over on the other side, towards Spurlock and Shop Branch, and the ones over on this side was from the fire tower back that way.
Where the fire tower was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one there. Swift called it himself, he called it the West Mines.
The Wish
Because
mines.
it laid back in the west there. And he had the Rich Mine and another mine's over on Spurlock and one on Shop Branch, which is the one we opened up there, me and Lucky. After that thing come out of there that night, we didn't go back, man. We got kind of scared, Lucky and them did. And
Oh, yeah.
we wouldn't go back up there because Solomon claims he left 72 spirits of the devil to guard his mines. I read that. He called them Satans. And he said to guard his mines and his treasure.
That's what I was going to ask you to tell everybody the story. Now, this is unbelievable, guys. Him and his brother-in-law had the same exact dream.
Oh, yeah.
So I want you to tell everybody this story, because this is...
That was over toward the West Mines there. That's where I think the big treasure was at, too. This was probably in the mid-'80s when we was back there, me and Lucky. It was a nice day out, you know, wasn't rain or nothing. In the middle of the day, we'd been walking all the way from toward Hunter, across the main road and up in that one holler called, I forget the name of it. And we went straight up the mountain there. We was going to search that side of the hill out. We found a lot of rocks, big rocks in there that the journal talks about, you know. One of them was called the Leaning Rock, which was a big rock. I guess that rock, buddy, was at least 25 feet long.
Good Lord.
It weighed tons. And it was leaning like a tower, almost ready to tilt over. And Lucky, me and him both agreed that was it. It was way back there on that flat going around. They took all that out. They took the whole, all the way around that knob, took the top of it off. We was going across the top up there, you know, where Jake Bates's branch is.
No, I don't.
Well, it's way above Garth on the main road. You go up through Jake Bates's holler up there. There's a little gap back there, and we went up the hill there. All the way, we was already on top. The fire tower was still above us, so that we was in that gap back there, going upside. And Lucky stepped on a big rock there on the ground. It kind of wobbled. He said, James, this rock here, it's wobbling. He said, I believe there's something under it. So we scooted it off, and there was a big hole going down under the ground. And there was steps cut out going down in there. So I'm telling how long that's been there.
Sure.
Steps cut out of solid rock. So we went down in it. It was over head deep. But there's a dark room back in that way going toward that fire tower hill, you know. It was going in that direction. And Lucky went all the way back. I was up there looking around for my ladder because we didn't have no flashlight. Kind of see if I could see anything on the walls or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the main back there doing the same thing. And about a few minutes there, but his ladder melted in his hand. It just wilted. And Lucky said, James, my ladder melted, babe, just for no good reason. I said, I gave him my ladder. He went back there and it done the same thing to him. With my ladder, it just melted. Lucky got kind of scared. Of course, he said, James, I believe there's a curse on this or something. He said, we better go. He said, it ain't right. Don't feel right. So we left. We didn't cover that place back up. We just come on to the house. And I went in there. And I was wore out anyway. I kind of laid across the bed there when I got home. But I wasn't all the way asleep either. I was kind of, laying there. And there was something hit me, buddy, a vision come to me right then and there. It put me and my brother-in-law back up there where we just come from, down in that hole. And the end of there, Lucky says there was a pile of rocks while he was in there, covering the entry or something there. But it put me and him back up there in that same place, and what it was, that vision showed me going on back through there into that mountain, me and him. Went on in there, and they was a pile of money from what I could see in there higher in the ceiling. It was piled up like haystacks. Huge amount of money. But I kept seeing something moving around in behind it. You could see it come out every now and then, moving in there like it was watching us. And I kept going a little closer, and finally it come out. It was the devil, Satan. He was big too, buddy. He had horns on his head and everything. He was motioning for me and Lucky to come to him. He said, come here. He said, I've been waiting on you for a long time.
Oh, wow.
I'd say he's been waiting ever since King Solomon's been around about 3,000 years. And that's when I got up out of bed. I got to wait, man, right fast. But now Lucky calls me about 2 hours later. He gives me the same story. He said, James, he said, that devil's in that mountain. He said, he'd been waiting on me and you for a long time. I said, but Lucky told me the same thing. Lucky said, I ain't ever going back there again. He said, I believe that, like you say, he said, I believe that's part of King Solomon's mind, because he put a curse on it.
Oh, yeah, that was probably a warning to you to say, hey, look, you keep treading and something's going to happen.
What about the time that I was shooting up there, and that was the devil there too?
Yeah.
He was trying to get to me then, I believe. Somewhere now that was before I found that up yonder. Where I shot that night, that was back in the late 70s, around the 70s. But when we went up yonder to that mountain, it was up in the mid-80s, about 87, 88. They was years apart, but he was warning me then that I would eventually get back there, and I did. And he said, that's when he said he'd been waiting on me, and Lucky, I guess, for a long time. But other than buddy, I got out of there right now. I never did go back up there.
That's what I was going to ask next. Would you reconsider going back to the mine or no?
We did go back on that hill though, but as far as messing with any of that, we didn't do it.
Yeah. Oh,
but
sure.
I took that lady and her husband back there. Me and John Whitaker did. And let's see, Chris Patton was with me. He's still around.
Now this was the psychic medium, or?
Yeah,
okay.
She was a psychic.
Okay.
So we walked back up on that mountain. That's one I was telling her that the devil's in there and all that. She wanted to go see that, where that was at. So we started back there. And the first day I went back there, I got kind of sick. But I got back there just before you get to the part there. I got definitely sick back there, but I think my sugar might have dropped on me. And there was a lot of blackberries. And they started picking them and giving them to me, and I got feeling a little better then.
Yeah.
But now, further on up the mountain we got, she took a bad spell. She fell on the ground and laid there and wouldn't move. She said, I won't go another step. She told her husband, said, we can leave. She said, this hill's got a curse on it.
So she picked it up too?
She said, there's a bad thing in that mountain. She said, they've been sacrificial back here on that rock. That's talking about the Buffalo Rock. Because it did have a place cut out on the back of it, a square-like place on it, and had a place cut out like a drainage on it. And she claims that's where they had Indians or somebody had sacrificial back there on that. It's untelling what went on in here back in them days.
That's true.
But
Because we don't
I
know.
read a lot of stuff about the Indians too, about the same thing. There was a journal written by an old Indian. But Jack Matney gave me that journal. He lives up in toward Elkhorn City. And me and him was good buddies and stuff. I used to go to meetings up there all the time. And that old Indian talks about the Great Cavern of the Shawnee, Great Cave. I think it was right here, where that part there hill is. Because that hill was hollow in there.
It's got a weird, it looks like it's got a face
hollow.
to it, don't it?
Yeah. And it says when the Indians guarded that place, they claimed there was a religious object inside there that they were guarding. Now, what kind of religious object would that be except for the ark?
You think it was the ark?
It said it was in a room of quartz cut out. And when the light hits it, it was reflection would light up. And who enters there, they was guarded each end of the entry. Indians guarded it. They would kill anybody that went in there, I guess, come around there.
Sure. Oh, yeah. They were very protective over that stuff.
But they did guard that place. And it says there was a religious object in there. It's until how long it's been in there, too. But now, old Swift, he might have knew about it, but he didn't mention it in his journal. The Indian did, though. Now, they did guard. They let Swift mine that, him and his men. But anybody else that come around, they'd have war with them.
Oh, sure.
But Swift, he got into it with them, too, there once. He talked about them shooting at him and shooting a hole in that thing they carried that silver money in, the coins.
Yeah, the bag.
And he said he enlarged and spilled it. It was falling out. Jimmy Carroll, he found one of them coins up there that Swift had. And there was 7 more of them found out here where Burl Osmond lived. Right on the other side of the funeral home there.
They said
a house there.
They said that there was some guy kayaking or was in a canoe somewhere around Big Sandy or maybe close to West Virginia, Virginia. He found a big bag of silver coins that tied back to Swift.
Could have been, but now they found a lot of coins that dated back from Solomon's days too, down in Clay City. A man plowed them up in a field down there. I read about it in one of the Henson books I read.
Has this mine consumed you for the majority of your life?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on that. And I should have been spending a lot of it with my kids growing up. Sure, I've missed out on a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because as soon as me and my brother-in-law, we'd sit up all night reading books and journals, maps. I still got some of the old maps. Why, they're tore out, they're ripped and everything else. Well, we kept looking at it, marking on them here and there. Yeah. And we sit up all night, fixing a big pot of coffee. If the coffee pot got empty, we'd fix another. We'd stay up all night reading them books and journals, pinpointing it up in here for different places on it.
Thinking back on this, what does that bring to your mind? Like, does it make you think, man, I've had an awesome life experiences, especially that some people may not even experience at all?
I think about them quite a bit, what happened to them. Couldn't explain them.
Yeah.
But you know it happened to you. There's a lot of people out there ain't gonna believe a word of that. I don't care whether they believe it or not.
I believe you,
but
brother.
I know it happened.
Yeah.
It really did.
Here's the $1 million question for you, though, James. Would you ever go back to John Swift mine around here?
I don't know. I kept thinking about that, too. I've been wanting to go back up there and try to open that one up.
He's got that itch, folks.
But if it's got a curse on it,
yeah, I don't.
I know where it's at. I know where there's at least 2 of them at. But that mining company got pretty close to that one. Pretty close to it, within maybe 300 feet or so. They took one treasure out, was over and had a cuss-off. Swift's partner named Mundy, George Mundy was his name. He was a Frenchman. And he had a treasure buried too because he was his partner.
Mm-hmm.
He kept his up there and had a cuss-off. I went right to it. I'll tell you who went with me, me and Dexter Conley. Yeah, me and big buddies. Man, we stayed in the hill quite a bit too. Here lately after Lucky passed away. And so we walked out there. I mean, Monday gives description right where it was at. If you go through that low gap, and he talks about a saddle gap, and right there was a saddle gap. He said go to the end of there, and he said there'll be a line of rocks on this low ridge, a low line ridge, and there it was. There's rocks all the way up through there, big rocks and everything.
Wow.
And we looked that over, and me and Dexter walked around the side of it. But they was green grass growing. It was that tall. It's back on top of the mountain now. Water was seeping out of there. Out of a big crack about that wide. And that's where it was supposed to be. I told Dexter, I said, it's supposed to be right here where he buried it in this. Dexter, yeah, I agree with you. There's something back in there for sure because that water's coming right out of there, going down the hill. And that grass was growing all around there too, where that water was running. That mining company come around there and took that little ridge out. They got that treasures out there.
Oh, wow.
And I just hope they didn't go through the hill and get the one that Swift left around the gap, big gap on around through there. And I got description to hit, because the journal told of this mine. I've been at a low gap, and there was a falling rock near the gap, and I found it, the falling rock. It fell from the other ones. It said it did. And it said it's marked by piles of rocks in the shape of a cross. I found that too. Big pile of rocks in the shape of a cross right there.
Did you get photos of all this
I
stuff?
think I got one picture of it. But the weeds and bushes had about covered them up.
Yeah.
Before they've been there so long. I don't know if you can quite make them out, but I did get a picture of it. You know, of course, I couldn't go back there with a blade and cut all that down. That down nothing with me.
Right, right.
But it was there. It also told about that gap there, that cliff. They said there's a cliff in the gap. That's one where the fallen rock is. So it looked like it had fallen from the other. But what it was a big round rock, big one. And another big round rock had slid off of it. And he called it a hanging rock. It slid from the other one. Swift mentioned that in his book, and it's right there.
Wow.
And he said that mine entry was covered up with locust poles and dirt and rock. I found a locust pole laying underneath that big rock that had been hacked off. It was probably that long and that big around. A locust pole. They left that one outside. Swift and them did. I found it was going to bring it home with me and run off, forgot it. But it's still back there, I'm sure of that. But now that other rock that sat around the hill, I found it stood about this high. It's in my book. And it had mint carved on the side, it cut into it. And mints where they minted coins. It was a mint, because when it come up like a pyramid, and at the top it made a triangle cut out. It had a hole about that big around down in the center of that. And what I think what that stood for now, according to Paul Henson and all the book authors, they claim that's where you put a compass in there and get directions off of it.
Possibly.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
But also it could mean a very large treasure too, being in that area.
Very possible.
Yeah, because anytime you find a triangle with a hole or a dot, it means treasure.
Like a marker for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's in the book. Yes, I read a lot of them. Well, another guy, he was back there. He's deceased, you know. This was back in the 80s. I painted this house for him down here. I knew him half my life. And he was an older like guy, well known, you know, around. And he was him and his wife, and he drank a lot too. But he told me something down there. He said, he asked me, have you ever been up to the Low Gap and Shop Branch? I said, yeah, that's where them mines is I was talking about. He knew nothing about them, what I know. I was just wanting to listen to him. I said, yeah. I said, what Low Gap you talking about there? I said, you talking about the one in the main head of the holler or the one there by Tandy Martin's? I can mention his name. Tandy lived there at the mouth. He said there at Tandy Martin's, there's a Low Gap back there. That's one me and my brother-in-law went through it to check all that out. He said, well, this happened. He said there's a big treasure buried there in that gap somewhere. I said, how do you know that? He said, I read it on a beech tree, a big old beech, that it told about it, about a treasure buried near there. But I said, well, did you ever look for it? He said, no, I wasn't looking for that one. He said, I was looking for something a lot bigger, I thought, than that one. He said, I had no idea where that one was at. And but that was in the early 50s. That's when I wasn't very big then.
Yeah.
But he found that then. He asked me if that old beech tree is back there. I said, but there was one land that had rotted, and you could see part of it sticking up. That was probably the one he was talking about, right in the gap, laying down the hill. No, he said he was pretty drunk, but he said the one I'm looking for is the Knights of the Golden Circle. That's what he was looking for. He said, I know where that one is. He said, you got a good metal detector? He knew I had them. I said, yeah, I've got two, matter of fact. He said, well, we need to get together and go up, see if we can find that. And I don't want to give too much information away.
That's fine.
I may want to go look for it myself. But he says it's booby trap, but he said it's dangerous to fool with it. Because that was back there Jesse James had rode in this area. And
you still think it'd be booby?
He come through here.
You still think it'd be booby trapped today, though?
The Knights of the Golden Circle, they booby trap their treasure.
Right.
It's gold. We're talking, bags of gold, bars of gold.
Right.
Tons of it, I guess. And they said a booby trap. They didn't want nobody to mess
I mean, like
with.
today, would you think it'd still be?
Yeah.
You think so?
Well, this guy, he believed it was still active.
Right.
If you mess with it, it'd go off.
Sure.
It's like that nitroglycerin, I guess they used.
Yeah.
Back in them times. But that's what he was looking for. Of course, he was a Mason, a high-ranking one too.
Oh, wow.
He was a Templar.
Templar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they were looking for, was that. The Swift thing, he wasn't too much interested in, but he said I couldn't find it nowhere, so I had nowhere to look. But since I found that mint rock, I know where it was at. That set it off right there. I know, and that ain't the only rock that was there that had mint on it. There's one about from here, I'd say about 10 or 12 feet away. Against the hill, there's a big flat rock coming out. And it had mint carved on it in real big letters.
Wow.
We uncovered it, we scraped that moss off them rocks. If you look, you say, well, there's a carving. I could see part of it. So we scraped it off. It said mint, M-I-N-T on it. And the one on the other big rock said mint on it. But you go in between them on that big flat, goes around the hill there, I call it. You walk right between them too.
Mm.
And they did log it in there. They logged it. I thought they was getting ready to strip mine, around there. That kind of scared me, I said, boy, they'll destroy everything if they do that. They did log it. Mint Dexter was back there then, and they pushed that mint rock over the hill that set up. And I had to save it, but I couldn't, let them destroy it, which they already just about. And Mint Dexter had that logger back there with that big forklift, pick it up and bring it off the hill. We loaded it up on the hauler. I took it over on Spurl up when I lived over there and moved it back up here where I live. And dug out a place there against the hill, was going to put it in there and had it sitting in there. And the guy that dug my leach bed took that little thing, what do you call it, excavator, and moved my rock out there and pushed it down there next to the road, and it's still there.
Oh, wow. I got to check that out next time.
Yeah, I got on to him about that.
I'd say so.
Said, well, you ought to say it. So I said, say something I had dug outside the hill there, you know, had it sitting in there.
Yeah.
And where they dug that leach bed was nowhere near that anyway. I don't know why he done that. But that other one's still back there, but if you ain't got one of them power drills to cut it out and get it off, that's the only way you're going to get it up that hill.
All right, James, so tell everybody about your book here. How can they pick up your book, John Swift Silver Mine? I know you wrote that, and you've got some copies out there. How can they do that, sir?
They can get a hold of me direct, or either get it off on Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
If they want to. But right now I'm kind of short on books. I may have 3 or 4, but I'm going to have to reorder some before I, issue them out there.
Okay.
But
I'll keep everybody posted. When James gets a new shipment in, I'll post it. That way, you guys and gals who are interested in
I'll give them,
reading this book, you can go pick it up. And trust me, this guy knows a lot of stuff around here. I like picking his brain. But we're going to get out of here for today. And I want to thank everybody that's tuned in to watch this interview here on Beyond the Paranormal Podcast. Be safe, happy hunting, and always, always do it respectfully. So thank you guys, and thank you, man, for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've known him since a little bitty feller. Long time. Yes, sir. Me and his daughter, Christina, played baseball together, Pee Wee League.
Yeah,
so,
I remember that.
Good to have you down here, my man. You're always welcome down here. See y'all next week, folks.